It's the eve of Uncrowned Saturday, baby. That's right. We're back again. It is a massive, massive day of combat sports. Tomorrow, that's Saturday, you've got the Royal Rumble from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. You have the boxing event, Teofimo Lopez versus Shakur Stevenson from MSG. And you've got UFC 325 from Sydney, Australia. It's an awesome, awesome list of events. We have everything covered at Uncrowned. Look at these beautiful graphics that we've got here. Absolutely stunning. Get over to Uncrowned now. Wet your beak. We have a lot of shit going down. I mean, brilliant articles from, of course, all of the brilliant MMA team that we're going to hear from now in just a few minutes, but we also have fantastic things on the Royal Rumble. And I believe Big Time Ben Fowlkes has been editing these as well. He is a massive, massive WWE fan. If there's one thing I know about Big Time Ben Fowlkes, it's that he is a massive, massive WWE fan. And of course, we've got brilliant boxing stuff from Elliot Worslow. I was reading it earlier. He is the great table setter for boxing in this day and age, so make sure you read that. The focus today is going to be on Volk v. Diego Lopez, of course, because we are, in fact, an MMA show, but we might hit these topics later on in the show. A lot going on here. Of course, we have our esteemed guests, as always, Big Time Ben Fowlkes and Chuck Mindenhall. I'm really falling over that today. I really can't get Big Time Ben Fowlkes out of my mouth, but I wish I didn't say that now. That is, it's out there. I've been struggling through this intro, and I'm struggling again. But I was just about to say, lads, before we get chatting here, surprise Ben Fowlkes is here because got some reports today. I think On Air Jordan has it. He might have missed a few shows in November, and I think we know why now. As you can see, a buffalo struck an ATM machine in Montana, and a man who was wearing a hood and fleeing from the scene is now $200,000 richer, according to reports. Many people have flagged this. Many people. And they think it's you, Ben. So when's the last time you were on an ATM machine, if you don't mind me asking you?
First of all, isn't it a moose? Is it a moose that hit it? I mean, here's the thing. First, one of the things that annoys me is when you see reports like this and they'll be like, a man in Montana. Do you have any idea how big Montana is? Be more specific.
Oh, here's his alibi. Montana is a big place. Really, Ben? Come on.
Montana is the size of Germany.
Montana's a neighborhood in the United States.
Just let that sink in. It's the size of Germany, and just in terms of like square mileage, and you're just going to be like a man out there. Because let me tell you something, it makes a big difference whether that happens in Billings or Missoula or whether it's in Malta. You know, if it's Malta, if that happens
is
in
Malta
Glendive,
way up top?
Yeah, it's what's up there.
All right.
If that happens in Glendive.
Or
everybody who's Butte is a whole different story. Butte's its own thing. But if that happens in one of these small towns, I don't care what kind of hoodie you're wearing. Everybody in town looks at it and they're like, "That's Richie. We know that's Richie grabbing that money." Here's what I want to know though: say you find yourself in this situation, you're not robbing an ATM. You're not going out there. You're not the one breaking it open. You're walking home. There's money on the ground. Are you going to tell me it's illegal to pick up money off the ground?
No, I would never tell you that.
Don't you dare tell me that, Chuck. Because I'm saying you're walking by, you're just going to be like, oh, there's tons and tons of money on the ground. I should alert the proper authorities.
You know what I love about this, Ben, is you don't even mention the weird part that is this animal, whatever it is, a buffalo slamming itself into an ATM. I mean, you skip over that part as if that's normal wherever you're at in Montana.
Do you know how many deer I dodge while driving my children to school in the morning? In the dark, early hours? That part is like the most believable, normal part of it for those of us who live in Montana. You know, especially you ever encounter a moose. When you see a moose out there somewhere in the world, you go, oh yeah, they're enormous. It's basically a feral horse with a weapon, like a chandelier on its head. And it's not like a cute, cuddly cartoon character. You want to steer clear of a moose. And they'll get aggressive. They turn, they see an ATM looking at them the wrong way. They're not having it.
Dude,
interesting.
It's funny, when I was 19 years old, I went to Montana, like up to like Yellowstone, and we saw a moose. And we're like, oh, thinking it's like a cow type thing. Let's go get a picture near it. And so I went over there. I've still got
people
the picture.
Get hurt.
I was with it. I don't even know, 10 feet of this thing, like throwing my thumb back, like, check it out. Look who I'm next to. And it's only after you did that, like, that people are like, are you an idiot? They kill more people than bears and anything else out there per year, and it's like, Who knew? Who knew? But I made it. He was very timid, you know.
As much as I want to continue to grill Ben Fowlkes about this situation, who has implicated a man called Richie, who has commented on the size
Richie
of
has a comment.
Montana as an excuse, but also did not deny that he would flee the scene with all this money.
I'm
with
picking
his
up that
Buffalo
money.
accomplice. Okay, let the
You
people
know
of
that's
Montana
you know
decide.
Richie is code for he's rich right now. You know that, right?
Richie Rich. That's what they call him.
Petesy.
That's what they've been calling him in Missoula.
Let me put it in terms you can understand. A Guinness truck tips over on the side of the
Okay.
road right down the street from your
unfair.
house.
All right, go ahead.
There's cans of Guinness or whatever just sprawled out across the roadway. Are you stepping over them very carefully to make your way home and call the authorities? Or are you maybe picking up a can or two and putting it in the pockets of your tracksuit as you make your way home? Be
This is a
real
good
with me.
segue. You're gonna segue out of here, aren't you?
Fifth. Plead the fifth. Listen, boys, let's not bring an Irish man and Guinness into this, okay? There was absolutely no need for that. It's absolutely wild comment.
Try to
But
meet
anyway.
you where you are, man.
No, it was a great analogy. Lads, we had some weigh-ins today, and there was some drama at the weigh-ins. Thank God it was not for the main event between Alex Volkanovski and Diego Lopez 2. But here they are on the scales, by the way. And we love a dehydrated champion on the scales. And
Don't we?
there is Lopez with the stash, with the hair, with the cowboy hat.
Got to get your hat on.
Here's Stan Hooker, newly.
How happy.
I'm still stunned by the tattoos every time. You know, it's been like this for a while, but he is completely illustrated man now. And there's Benoit, Saint Denis. Yeah, all the lads have weighed in. We were all very, very happy with that. But we had a bit of an issue, guys. The hoop of shame came out, and a man used
My
it to his
God.
advantage. And I believe we have the footage of this now. Mr. On Air Jordan will bless us with this, hopefully. Needs a minute. Okay, no problem. We're gonna riff on this for a second. So, of course, famously, DC had the towel incident. For those of you who don't know, DC leaned on a towel, took a few pounds off the old scales there when he was weighing in. I believe it was 205 back in the day. We have a new version of this for a man who was, you know, every flyweight weigh-in is weird. I'm sorry. Every time anyone's weighing in for flyweight, I'm just like, this is going to be a disaster. Today, we had one of these disasters with a man by the name of Aaron Toe. He was meant to fight Bat Bayer. Tao, we thought had come in very safe for this situation. But it turns out, oh my God, where am I going?
Wait,
Where are
You
we
see
going,
it?
Hazel?
Did,
Oh,
did
here
he
we go.
do it? I didn't see him do it. It looked like he
Yeah, I could
pulled
see
it off.
it. I could see it here.
So what happened is they brought out the hoop of shame.
Yeah.
He leans against the back of it. And then John Anik announces weight. He's like, it's 122 for this flyweight fight. And everyone
You
in
take
the
off
comment-
too much. That's how you get caught.
everyone on the desk is like, oh, that seems a bit weird for a flyweight to weigh in at 122. Commission cop it, make him stand on the scales without any hoop of shame. And he comes in at 129, fight called off. So close, yet so far.
Caught so red-handed, you know?
Oh, man.
That's crazy.
And with the face tat as well, I think it just adds to the shame of the situation. I don't know why, but it just doesn't feel
Well,
right.
it's more
to me.
glaring. It's more glaring. You know, when DC did it like at UFC 210, wasn't it in Buffalo? How did
You know
what
this.
do you remember what number he landed on? Like, because he
It
was
was-
right there.
Yeah,
he was right
did
there.
it. He did it right. He didn't take off too much weight to where
Exactly.
it gets suspicious. Just enough. And that is part of the key. But also, it's harder to be the guy who tries to do it after everybody's already hip to it, after we've already
Exactly.
seen it once. It's like, was it? I think it was Pop Warner who, in his days of like coaching football, we have a lot of rules on the books because of stuff that he got away with, and people were like, okay, we know it's not in the rule book that says your team can't come out in uniforms that have little footballs sewn all over it, so we can't tell who actually has the football. But we're gonna put it in the rule book now because, or, you know, the reason we have a rule that says you can't run out of bounds, run along the sideline, and then run back onto the field to make a play is because they got away with it once. And so
Yeah.
like it heightens everybody's awareness for it. That's kind of what happened here. But also it's like you can't take off too much weight. But
Yeah.
if you know you're 129, if you know you're way over, give it a shot. Why not?
But you know what? If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna go in there and like, okay, I'm gonna try to pull a fast one on the commission and everybody involved, show up while everybody is weighing in. Like this dude showed up like 90 minutes into the proceedings,
That's
right?
right.
Like he was the last guy on the scale. You don't bring that kind of extra scrutiny to yourself. Try to get on there while everybody's rushing through and see if you can get by with it, right?
Yeah. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And Chuck Mindenhall knows a thing or two about cheating, is basically.
Oh yeah. Big time. But I would have been right on the nose at 125. I would have just been
because you're a professional. Because you're a
Yes.
professional. That's why.
Oh man, I remember all types of shit going down. Especially like Habib in Abu Dhabi, I was there with Casey, and like I've never seen a man get on and get off the scales quicker in my life. And Mark Ratner was somehow able to read 155. It was like he just went bop, and just hopped off, and everyone's like, "Yeah, come on, Habib, well done, mate." Crazy shit. But do you guys get this when they have the events, particularly in Australia, when you just wake up and all the shit's already happened, and you're just so confused? You're like, "Wait,
Yeah.
it's fucking Thursday, and what have they done?
So,
Thursday,
very
and the press
confusing.
conference has happened. Like, what is going on here? Every time this happens, is it just me? I'm so
No,
disoriented.
when they're like this
every
whole
time.
thing, they're like, "Oh, it's February 1st is going to be UFC 325," but it's actually,
Oh my
January
God.
31st, and then it's like you're already dealing with it just on that alone. But yes, every time this happens, I'm like, "Wait a minute, this just happened?" Like you have to go back and like figure out what's going on. I feel like I never get used to that. But imagine being on their side. Like if you're an
Yes.
Australian and you have to pay attention to a North American sport, I feel like they deal with it way more than we do.
Yeah, they're also used to it, which is one thing.
That's true.
But I would think that now that we're in the Paramount era, they would be like, do we have to keep doing it this way? Because you don't have these pay-per-views to worry about trying to sell back, at least to the Americans. You might still be trying to sell them other places. I know the Canadians are still hopping mad about this situation, but if you don't have to do that anymore, can we maybe get some shows that are in prime time for us, so that it actually feels like it? I also wonder, the people who go to these every single time and love them, would that throw them off? They're used to a UFC event being a Sunday morning affair. And let me tell you, I went to one in Melbourne and it was quite nice. It's quite nice to go and watch one on a Sunday morning. Only UFC event I've been to where the media meal was breakfast. They served us, eggs and bacon and stuff. It was great, and coffee, but you're done by Sunday early afternoon, and it's actually quite a nice change of pace. But it's how they do it every single time. I wonder if it would be weird to them to show up, watch a UFC event on a Saturday night.
One person who seems to have struggled with the concept is a man from that neck of the woods, we'll say. He's an Anzacs fighter. It's Dan Hooker. Here's what he had to say about having 2 sleeps before this fight. And now I have to wait 2 nights to fight someone. You're telling me I got to go to sleep, wake up, and I have to go to sleep again? I want to hurry up. I'm not liking this whole 2-day thing. Dan Hooker, the violent man, covered in tattoos now. But it's got to be a good thing for fighters, right? To be able to have the extra time to rehydrate themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
But it also, at a certain point, don't you start to wonder what we're doing? Because it already was a little bit ridiculous, because we're going like, this is a 145-pound fight, and we take it so seriously. You can't be 145.2 pounds. Are you crazy? You need to be 145 pounds for 30 seconds. And that already is a little bit ludicrous, because we all know what we're doing, that none of these guys are 145 pounds. And then the further out from the fight you get, the more it's just like, why are we doing it? If we're just gonna end up like, if we can do it 2 days before, how about 3 days? How about a week before? Show up a week before. I mean, honestly, it would be safer. We could still tell ourselves we're doing the weigh-in. It would be safer for the fighters. We'd cut down maybe on people who get sick the next day. Maybe we'd probably get better performances from people who are not having to completely deplete themselves one day before they go in there and get hit in the head on TV. Like, that is already kind of crazy and dangerous. So maybe if we just start gradually nudging it back and we all agree not to make a big deal of it, we all agree like, okay, it is kind of silly, but it was already kind of silly, and at least this is getting less dangerous type of silly. Maybe we could all live with it. Because, I mean, I see what Dan Hooker is saying. Like, it's stressful. The more nights you have to go to sleep being like, there's a guy who's spent the last 6 to 8 weeks preparing and training to hurt me. That's probably difficult to sleep. That'll disturb a fellow's rest,
It seems like the people who are local to, like, because you remember Tom Aspinall and even Leon, right? Like when they were having these shows in the middle of the night, and I know you were there, Pizzi, but like it feels like they have the harder time adjusting
Yeah.
to when the fights
Yeah.
are like the people who are visiting, they don't know any different, right? They just come in, they try to acclimate, and then they just go with the schedule they're given. It seems like the people who are used to being there and maybe their families or whoever's around them are all on the normal schedule, and they're like, dude, I have to like, be altered. But psychologically, it seems to bother the local people more, doesn't it? Like that's traditionally been the case when you see these things.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. It's just the only thing I'd say, like, if they did decide, like, let's bring it back, how many people are automatically dropping away class? They're like, oh yeah, they're like, there's something about fighters where they're like,
Yeah.
okay, you're giving me an opportunity to be safe. I have to now make it more dangerous for myself.
Yes, yeah. I mean, everybody's looking for an edge. And then at a certain point, if other people are looking for the edge, then you have to follow suit just to not be left behind. I mean, that's what the weight cutting that we have already kind of is. Because you see a bunch of people where we're all starving, depleting ourselves
Yeah.
to a dangerous degree, all just so that we can end up fighting someone approximately our size
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And like you end up in this arms race. And so, yeah, I'm sure if you did move it back, unless you moved it back and you were just like, all right, everybody, listen, weigh-ins are now Wednesday, but whatever you weight you are, whatever division you're in right now, listening to the sound of my voice, you're still in that division. Don't come up in here and be like, I was thinking bantamweight, like we're not having it.
Imagine Wednesdays, like Anthony Johnson would have been trying to get down to 155 pounds back in the day.
Oh my God, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Speaking of talking points going into this event, Volkanovski was in hit with the retirement talk quite a lot. He has dispelled it, of course. He has like endlessly been like, please stop asking me this question. We see this all the time. It happens with champions. Once you get over that age of 35, it is coming. Even with Katie Taylor, one of the greatest boxers of all time, she is constantly having this retirement talk up until recently where she's like, maybe this is my last year. But Chuck, is it disrespectful at this point, or is it just a natural kind of consequence of getting longer in the tooth?
No, I think it's natural because what is he? He's 37 years old, right?
37.
37 years
Yeah.
old. And I think a lot of times it wasn't like he came from, you know, that he's been in MMA a long time, but he's been a pro athlete. He's been an athlete for a long time. And in fact, like he morphed from a 210-pound rugby player down to 145 pound fighter, and he's done everything. Like he was 13-0, which is just crazy to think about the guys he went through. But 13-0 as a featherweight and made his name as maybe the GOAT in that division, if not for sure the GOAT, right? Like he's a guy who's done that. There's just a point, and then you go up, you have a pretty close fight with Islam, you lose the second one badly, but there were circumstances to that, and you look at all of that and you say, like, what's left? What's left for you out there, especially if you lose, what's left? And I think that it's just natural for people to be like, you're not going to hang around the game. And Pete, you'd mentioned this, and I know we've talked about it before, especially for a guy who has admitted or at least confessed on some level, like, I don't idle well. My mental health tends to be like I get stir crazy, and it's better to have a fight. And I think, like, given those types of situations too, you're like, are you dealing with that? Like, because it seems like you're getting close to it. And I think people just want to know, like, how he's going to handle it when he is at that point too. But I think that it all comes down to, dude, when you've had a legacy that long and say that you lose, right? What's left for you out there? And it's just a natural kind of curiosity for a guy like that.
Ben, what do you think? I mean, Chuck mentioned it there. I think the thing I worry about for Volkanovski, like, I think he's one of the greatest featherweights of all time, if not the greatest featherweight of all time. That revelation that Chuck mentioned just a moment ago, before the second Islam fight, he had only beat Yair Rodriguez 3 months before, finished him. And then he's back fighting Islam. He loses to Islam and he comes out and he says, honestly, like, I just need to have that goal. I need to have something that I'm gearing my life towards. Say the worst case scenario happens for these Australian fans at the weekend and Diego Lopez makes better on his second round knockdown as he had in the first fight and he knocks this dude out. A lot of people will be saying, as Chuck just has, what else is there for you, Volk? But it will come, like, I just have a feeling that he's going to have a very hard time walking away from the sport. And that is, of course, one of the tragedies that we see in combat sports. Most, BJ Penn, Tony Ferguson, the list is endless. Do you fear that Volk could end up in that situation? And I'm aware I'm asking you this while he is at the top of the mountain. I know it's a weird time to ask, but it's something that comes back to me about Mr. Alexander Volkanovski.
Yeah, I mean, he does seem like one of the smarter fighters.
Yes.
And like one of the more self-aware fighters. So I don't see him as being somebody who hangs on to a ridiculous degree. But I think that it is way more common for people to stay a little too long than to leave a little too early. And when you do leave a little too early, as a sport and a community, we're not that cool about that either. Like, look at Habib. He left a little earlier than anybody thought he needed to. Dana White was taking him out to every restaurant on the Las Vegas Strip, trying to talk him back into it. Fans were going, we don't believe it. He's going to be back. We're just not primed to understand that. And so I could see a situation, especially even if he gets through this one, even if he beats Diego Lopez again, the next guys that you see up in featherweight are tough. They're tough stylistic matchups. The guys like Movsar, Lerone Murphy, guys like that, where you're just going, that it's going to get pretty tricky to stay there if you're Alexander Volkanovski. And so I think that you can see it coming on the horizon where you're going like, all right, you're not going to be able to stay at the top forever. It's amazing that you stayed at the top for this long. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's going to take one loss and be like, well, that's it. That's the writing's on the wall. I'm going to go home now. He does seem like that's only going to ignite that competitive fire in him. Fighters get really hung up on how they end sometimes. And I think maybe too hung up where they lose one and they go, I don't want to go out like that. Well, hey, if you turn around and you win the next one, you're not going to want to go out like that either, because you're going to be like, see, that's proof. I don't need to go out. Yeah. And we've seen that over and over again. I don't worry about it that much with him. I think, will he overstay? Yeah, probably. But I don't know if it'll be an egregious example of it. He seems like the kind of guy who's smart enough and interesting enough, he can go do other stuff. He needs to figure out how he's going to.
He's got a good sense of humor too.
Yeah. He's got a sense of humor, and he's good on camera. People are going to want to do stuff with Alexander Volkanovski. He's not just going to go from like some fighters face where today you are so and so the UFC fighter, and as soon as you retire, you are that guy who used to fight, and they can't live with that. He's better fixed than a lot of people to move into something else. I think though that. One thing you hear from fighters is they go, you can't start looking for a replacement of what you get in this sport because nothing else is going to give you exactly that.
Yeah.
And you can't become too reliant on that.
I will say that part of his frustration in being asked this is we already kind of went through it because after those knockouts, right? Like people were like, dude, what's going on? He shows up and puts on with like almost a master class, right, in that first fight with Diego Lopez. And I think that he was like, does that answer all your questions? Here I am. I've still got it. I'm still the exact same guy. And it was, yes, he got hurt a couple of times in the fight, but he controlled it. It was he outclassed Diego just about everywhere in that fight. And I think in his mind, he's like, guys, I just showed you I've not diminished anywhere, right? Like if he goes out there and does it again, obviously we're going to be like, how long I'm going to keep this going? But from his perspective, like if people are like, hey Ben, you haven't written a good column in 4 years, and then he puts out his master class, you'd be like, look, I still got it. Can we shut up with that talk already? And it's offensive after a while.
I mean, it did happen to the big homie Ernest Hemingway, where people were like, bro, you're done. And he did it a couple times where he was like, here's for whom the bell tolls. Here's the old man in the sea. What now? The difference,
any big titles, or were there just those ones?
The difference, as Hemingway himself told friends of his who were in pro boxing, was our failures stay in the drawer. Or they go in the wastebasket.
That's a great point.
And when you're a fighter, you go out there, and one of the truest things that Dana White has ever said is, in this business, you can get old overnight. You just show up one day, and we see you don't have it anymore, and you have to find out in an extremely painful fashion that you don't have it. I especially think, because you imagine if he loses to Diego Lopez here, what Volkanovski is going to say immediately afterwards is, it's 1-1.
Yeah.
Run it back. And it's going to be hard to argue with him because he's going to be, he made this same point when they had him fight Max Holloway over and over again, he was like, are we going to have to keep doing these until I lose one? And he will probably feel quite rightly like, hey, I did that. I fought Max Holloway over and over again. I turned right around and fought this guy again. You owe me a rubber match. You owe me that opportunity if you make me keep doing these rematches, and it'll be hard to argue with that, honestly.
Poor Movsar and Lerone. They're just forever behind the 8 ball.
Do you think that fight the performances aged badly for Diego? Because he did have that moment he put Volk down in the second round. Granted, Volk came back and he landed some brilliant shots on himself to the point where I think two of the three judges gave him the second round. You know, he wrestled back the round.
Yeah.
Then Lopez had a great fourth as well, I thought. So I think he won one round on two judges' scorecards and two on another's. And I think he had an argument for two rounds. But the way people talk about it is kind of similar to the way people talk about Valentina Shevchenko v Manon Fiorot in the aftermath of the Zhang Weili fight. It's like, look at the dominance here. She's so good. But really, you know, Ben, I think it was like, you know, Diego had a shout there in the second. He put him down for a minute. You can capitalize on these opportunities. Do you think people are underestimating what this guy brings to the table, and that's why the UFC have given him this spot again?
You know, I think we always knew he brought that to the table, right? Power, the ability to just in one big moment turn it all around, maybe end a fight. I think we knew he had that. I think the challenge for him, especially in this particular matchup, is Volkanovski has typically been one of those guys where he gets better the more he has seen of you. He gets
100%.
smarter about how to beat you, how to take you apart. The more just total time he has to be in the cage with you and look at you, the smarter he is about beating you. And there's going to come a point inevitably for everybody where that intelligence he has, like that line on the graph, is going to cross paths with the physical decline of age that is inevitable for everybody. We just don't know if that's the point yet. Because right now, though, I still think, like, if you're Diego Lopez, it would be hard not to look at this second opportunity and go, I just need to go nuts on this guy. You know, I need to just be more aggressive, because that is a good way to walk into trouble against Alexander Volkanovski, is just telling yourself, like, I just got to get in his face quicker, earlier in the fight, and not let him off the hook, because he is such a smart fighter. He can turn that against you really easily. And he probably is expecting you to be doing that. He's probably expecting Diego Lopez to have come out of that first fight hearing a lot of people go, you should have put your foot on the gas more, man. You should have just thrown caution to the wind. And I would think that, like, that's the hard part for him, is like, Volkanovski is so intelligent as a fighter and such a good strategist, and is one of the great all-time mid-fight adjusters. If he sees what you're doing and you're doing something different, he can adjust during that round. He'll adjust on the stool, come out different the next round. He is so good at picking up reads on the fly and adjusting his style accordingly.
You know, Pizza, I know we talked about this, like,
in the round table, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I remember we were talking about Diego in the first fight, and we're like, hey, if I'm Diego, I'm going out there and I'm trying to take his head off in the first couple of minutes, because he was chinny, right? We were like, well, he's chinny, like, and he's going to have some trepidation to engage because he doesn't want to get clipped early in a fight. And his big mistake, honestly, is I hear what Ben's saying, but maybe one of his mistakes was maybe not starting fast enough. Like, he went in there and he felt it out, and what happened was, it was almost like Volkanovski settled into his rhythm. He settled into just kind of getting into the fight, and all of a sudden those counters are landing, both hands, big counters, and as soon as he got the chance, he's got him on the fence. I think he might have taken him down in the first or second round. Like, he was just kind of mixing it up, but he got into the rhythm of what made him who he is, right? And Lopez did nothing to disrupt it. He was just headhunting. He was just headhunting at that point and getting beaten up. So it'll be very interesting. Like, you know, when you work yourself back into why are they fighting again and all that, it'd be very interesting to see how this fight starts. Does Diego go in there, like, you know, a little more, I don't want to say incautiously, but a little bit more offensively, where he's like, I'm going to try to get to him early and see what I can do. Does he do that this time? How does it play out? I mean, I think that's where it's at. Who makes the adjustments? And as Ben was saying, in fight, or certainly when you look at the Holloway series, like in the returns of that, like how he solved him in the second going forward after the initial flurry, and how he just basically dominated the third fight. You got to trust that Volkanovski is going to come in there with his adjustments, and he's going to think he knows exactly what to do to beat you this time, right? So how does Diego respond? Like, this is like, that's the fascination to me. What does he do different?
It's an interesting thing, because Paddy Pimblett is being slated more than any fighter in the world right now, coming off that fight with Justin Gaethje, I'd say. But his shadow looms kind of large over this co-main event between Dan Hooker, who's a massive underdog, against Benoit Saint-Denis, who's the guy on the tear, who seems to be just not really being talked about here. He's been on a tear ever since the loss to Renato Moicano, following his loss to Dustin Poirier, I believe it was. 3-fight win streak. Hooker, of course, coming off a loss, but he has this massive beef with Paddy Pimblett, who, even though he's being criticized as one of the most talked about fighters in the world at the moment, I guess the bookmakers think Benoit Saint Denis is going to go through him. And if that happens, or if it doesn't happen, does it even matter, Chuck? Is the Paddy Pimblett fight the one that the UFC are going to try and make regardless of the outcome of this co-main event?
I mean, it would be better if Hooker had a decent performance, at least in a loss, right? If he just gets smoked in this fight, I think it loses some steam. But because, I've been thinking about this, like, because the drama that there's, I feel like drama is going to translate a lot differently in the Paramount Plus era. Like, if you get Bad Blood and stuff, they've aligned so heavily now with theatrics, like even with all the shows they have, you almost wonder if it's going to kind of play into this. And it's just such a built-in rivalry that they've already got going on. With Paddy already having lost, I mean, that's the fight I would make. Like, what are you going to, and I still think that even if Hooker loses this, you could still point to, like, man, he is going against the who's who, the best of the best, right? And like, so you can't really fault him. And honestly, he squeezed in like I thought he was going to lose to Gamrot, and somehow he found a way to win that fight. So it's like, I feel like it'll extend beyond this a little ways. Like, I think he'll still have the relevance to go in there against Pimblett, and it still look like a big fight to me.
Ben, you had a great piece about Gaethje, his like amazing run with the UFC, everything he represents. Do you come away devaluing Paddy Pimblett the way others have? Like, I mean, Josh Barnett, Matt Brown, the list is endless of people just kind of poking fun at this guy's performance against Gaethje. And I'm not here trying to say it was a masterclass in any way. Like, it was a complete brawl. But do you think he's being unfairly criticized in the aftermath of that fight, or is it as they say?
Well, when I saw Josh Barnett's criticism, and I know Josh Barnett for a long time, and I went, the grumpy old man in you is kind of getting the better of you a little bit. And I don't mean that necessarily as like a harsh criticism of Josh. He cares about the sport. He is a technician. He's a student of the game.
Yes.
He maybe was not the kind of person who is going to enjoy that fight the way the rest of us will, because you've showed the rest of us a messy, no defense kind of brawl, like it's 3 a.m. in the bar parking lot, and we go, hell yeah, brother, this is a good time. We're having fun watching it. And Josh looks at it and just goes, how is this the main event of a UFC? These guys are just out there just winging it. And I understand, but it also was like, you had to understand, I think, for that fight, what we were being offered. It was a title fight in name only, but it was a fun matchup of personalities and styles and stakes, even if no one came away from that going, well, those are two of the best lightweights in the world. I mean, honestly, by the time we got to the 4th or 5th round of this, weren't you going, hey, whoever wins this, Arman Sarukian and Ilya Taporia both wad them up. It doesn't matter which guy comes out of this. And I think for Paddy, I was incredibly impressed with Paddy's toughness and his recoverability. Like, there were moments in that where you look and you go, he's just about done. Justin Gaethje is just about ready to put him away. And if Paddy got a few seconds to rest and recover, he was right back in it. And I was very impressed with that. And I think he does deserve some kudos for that. That said, there were also moments where you could watch what was happening and go, if Paddy was a better fighter, this would be an opening for him to maybe win this fight. Because Justin Gaethje is not who he was. He's still able to do a lot of the Justin Gaethje stuff. But there were moments where you could see him getting clipped. You could see him getting cut. You could see that predictability that has always been a little bit part of Justin Gaethje's style. You know where his head's going to be. He's going to be dipping it off to the right at least a dozen times during the fight. So, and Paddy just couldn't really capitalize on that because he's just not there. And there's a temptation, it has been for a long time, for us to look at Paddy and be like, there's some raw stuff there. He will get there. Yeah. But it hasn't totally happened yet. And that's the thing that I think people are looking at and they're going like, if it hasn't happened yet, you've been a pro for a while now. You've been at this level for a while now. When will it happen? Because it sure didn't happen there, and there were openings.
Well, like we're talking about Diego Lopez, you're like, did he do everything he could do to win that fight? And you're like, no. He could have done a lot of things smarter within that fight. You're like, okay, that's what makes intrigue for the second one. That you think there's this other level of potential, and also just having some in-fight IQ, that will like come into play. I thought that Paddy coughed up all his charms. It's like he gave it everything he had. There's a difference when you watch a guy who does that, and you're like, he still comes up short, than a guy that you're like, he just didn't do this or didn't do this. That was the problem, right? Like, I felt like with Paddy, it was like, I felt like we watched the best version you're going to get of him, and he still didn't come up. He didn't. So there's this part of you that's like, okay, maybe this is the contender thing was a step far. And I was one of those guys who was advocating like, hey, put him in against Ilya. Let's just do it. Let's just roll this thing. And now you look at that and you're like, that would have been a bad idea,
Yeah.
Look, I think nobody is going to argue that this is a better card than UFC 324, but Volk made a great point at the press conference whenever that happened, maybe Tuesday, I don't even know. But he's like, the collection of fighters on this main card is gnarly. Like, it is a gnarly card. Like, you can see a finish in nearly every fight there on that main card, bar the main event, of course, which has gone the distance before. But the one that's taken the biscuit has got to be Fiziev v. Hoofy. Because
taking the biscuit, is that good or bad?
Taking the biscuit is a great thing. I mean, they are winning the biscuit. You don't like biscuits? I mean, who doesn't like biscuits? I mean, if you're taking the biscuit, you're like, yeah. No? Just me?
All right.
As long as you get permission. If you're just
cookies,
taking the
right?
biscuit.
The biscuit is actually mean cookies.
Okay,
yes, I do mean cookies. This one takes the cookie.
That's nice.
It doesn't even sound right coming out of your mouth.
Fuck. Listen, it's a good fight, isn't it, Ben? Fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Nothing's coming out of his mouth is good today. Like, this is highly sensitive material.
An aneurysm live on the show here.
I think, honestly, every time I look at Rafael Fiziev, I kind of think we are always sort of underappreciating what he can do. Just either like a mix of circumstances and like who he's fighting. Like, he can look really great at times when he's able to do his stuff. Like, that guy is a tough opponent. He's a tough stylistic matchup for just about everybody out there. And this though is the kind of fight where you're like, I can see a world in which he is forced to fight a kind of fight that is not what he would choose. I could see where he's like pushed a little bit to a different sort of pace. And that will be interesting to me. I think that as far as which fight feels like the most of a coin flip, which is to say the opposite of what I think we see in Tai Tuivasa and Taljan Teixeira, this is the one for me. I'm just I'm looking at when I was sitting here making my picks, trying to stay at the top of the food chain since I went 5-1 to start.
All right, we're bringing it up later, Ben. Okay, you don't need to just drop it in there. Okay. Let's not talk about who's.
He's alphabetically on top right now. By the way,
alphabetically on top, and I'll take it. The toughest one for me to pick was Fiziev.
It's tough.
No alphabetically about it for me. I'm just bottom. I am just bottom of the league. Spoiler alert. We'll talk about it in a while. Oh, fuck.
Here we go.
We're going to do it right now? Okay. Let me just make this screen bigger because God knows my eyesight.
Yeah, because I can't see that.
All you need to know is right up there at the top.
Is that you, Ben?
5
Ben and Chuck.
1.
I mean, basically the Craic podcast on top as far as I'm concerned. That's the way I say it. And Mysterious, Frank.
And Mysterious, yeah. Starting strong.
Right.
I don't know if you saw, Petesy, but when they put this graphic into Drake's preview, his UFC 325 preview, which I don't know if it's up yet, but if not, it should be soon. The caption. And I believe you can talk to Drake about this. I believe he wrote the caption because I went through and edited it last night. I didn't touch the caption. I just want you to know that. The caption he put under this graphic was, "Can Petesy Carroll climb out of the basement?" Like, that's all it said. It was just like, it was nothing else but focused on, by the way, if you just glazed over this whole graphic, I want to remind you, Petesy is in dead last.
I'm glad as an editor you didn't touch that, Ben. You just let that go. Let's
I was just like, you know what? That's a choice that Drake is making as an artist, and I respect it.
Let's bring it up. We may as well do this section here. Let Ben and Chuck have their flowers as top of the league, represent the Craic podcast.
That's right.
Craic podcast is top of the league. Once again, I will say that.
It's a win for us all, really. Yeah.
Can we see it again, please, Jordan, just for a second? Right, so let me just see. All right, we're all roasting. Right, you've gone Elkanah there for your wild card pick. Everyone going with either Elson or Roustin or Elkanah. Okay, everyone with Salkill. Everyone with Teixeira. Oh, Fiziev. Oh, here we go. Fiziev.
Yeah.
Fiziev. I don't know how to say his name. Chuck
Fiziev.
and Ben both going with Fiziev. Carroll has Hoofy down there. Everyone. Am I the only one with Hoofy? Me and Mysterious Frank are the only ones with Hoofy.
This is your chance. You want it out of the basement.
Okay, Al Shadi's gone with Hooker. Saint Denis, we're all on Saint Denis other than Al Shadi, so I'll get that one back on him possibly. And then
He's already counting his losses here.
Only Chuck going with Diego Lopez, it seems,
Wow.
right?
I'm
give
surprised.
us the logic
I'm
there,
surprised.
please, Chuck. Give us your logic, please.
Because they went to that country concert together, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is.
it is
Well,
actually.
Zach Bryan, fine.
He was very excited
know.
about like anyway. I remember him saying like maybe I fight him in Australia. That's how he said it. He was very excited about fighting in Australia. I think that he's been waiting for this moment. I don't know, man. I'm counting on him coming in there with a little bit of a different game plan. And I still think if he lands, like we saw a couple of those shots in that fight where he kind of hurts Volk. I just think if he lands that shot earlier, hurts him, Volk may not come back from it. It's it's just one of those type of things. He should lose, to be honest. Like there's every reason to think. I rewatched that fight recently, and I'm like, Volk just kind of outclassed him from pillar to post. You know what I mean? So like, unless he comes in and tries something to set up his shots a little better or cuts off the cage a little better, it probably doesn't happen. But I keep imagining that he just lands that big shot and puts him in trouble, and that's the beginning of the end.
I just kind of hope he wins now, so you're ahead of Ben, because this is just too much. I just can't.
It's untenable, you know.
All right, there it is. There,
they just flop it off. That's what we should do: is relegate the loser. Like,
I think, in fairness, Al Shadi made such a big deal of the losers, a bigger deal than he made of Drake last year.
He did.
The losers being New York, Rick, and Ben Fowlkes. I'm just saying, or just factual here. Okay. I think they should. Okay. Whoever is, I'm going to be bottom for a while, I feel. I did make a claim that I'd win it this year, but I feel that's already dead. I feel 1 week in, I was like,
there's a lot of picking left to do this year.
There is.
Don't sell yourself short. Who knows what's going to happen by the end
I do
of
this
the
in
year.
the fancy football league.
You guys like the wild card? It kind of adds a spice to it, though, right? Like
I do like it, but it also seems like people are going down the list and just being like,
who's the biggest
favorite on the card?
Yeah, because
that's what I went for. That's what I went
right
for
now
this
the stipulation is you can't choose anybody that's minus 1,000 or worse, right?
Lord knows I tried twice.
But we should probably shorten that to something like minus 400 or something like that.
Maybe each week we bring it down 900, 800, then it just caps.
Ooh,
up
okay.
I mean, honestly, the UFC does such a good job of matchmaking generally that there are not that many fights that it's, Bellator undercards.
I know. I was just thinking that.
Or somebody even like the PFL undercards where it's just like we got a Nurmagomedov against a warm body who we found, and those odds would be like minus 1,500.
And you'd be looking at minus 3,600 and be like, that's pretty good value for like a Nurmagomedov,
I'm putting 20 grand on it, so I mean, I get some
to win your 150 or whatever it would be.
I just thought it was interesting, Ben, in your mailbag this week, you talked about the possibility that we're headed towards another growth phase on the release of the numbers that the first Paramount PLE, whatever the hell we're calling it, event got. But this comes just a few days after we were like, this is as big as it's ever going to be, guys. And now your question, like, could we be headed for another growth phase? So those of you who say we are negative, correct them, please.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, the question was a response to somebody saying like, hey, with the way the Paramount deal works for American subscribers, are people going to watch less total events and just like tune in for a fight or two? Because if you got the subscription, it's just on. And you don't need to be making any sort of conscious decisions about like, is this worth me watching? All that kind of stuff. I can just pop in for the main event. And I do think there'll probably be more of that. I also don't think the UFC and especially Paramount care. As long as you were keeping that subscription on, they're not worried about whether you're sitting down at 4 o'clock in the afternoon for the prelims. They just want to know that they get your money every month. And I think that maybe it'll change the calculus in that way, but I also think it works in the other way where a lot of people go, hey, $9 is nothing. And I say that I'm an idiot. I spend $9 on the dumbest shit you can imagine. I do it every week. And so $9 to keep this subscription on, and then I can remove for myself even the question of, hey, UFC 325, is that card good enough? Is that it's not as good as UFC 324? Do I care enough? I don't have to ask that anymore because it's just I got the subscription. I might as well pop in and watch it. And so I think that you're going to get a lot more people. I mean, you saw the numbers that Paramount put out where they were just like 5 million people are watching this stuff. And you sit back and you go, yeah, it makes sense. More people are going to watch it at $9 than we're watching it at $92. That's just logic. And so you're going to get people more willing to give it a shot, more willing to just sort of like be like, all right, Let's see what this is about. Let's see what they got tonight. And who knows, you might end up getting, like, you should end up getting more people to at least give you a look and find out if they enjoy it, if they like it or not. I think that they're pretty well positioned here. I still don't think Paramount's going to make $1.1 billion back. I don't care how many Ram truck ads you squeeze in there. I don't care how NASCARify you do your broadcast. You're not making that money back. There's just not enough MMA fans on the planet to make that money back right now. But I do think that for the UFC and for those of us who like this sport and want to see it continue to be a thing and maybe even be like a more popular thing that won't get us strange looks when we talk about it, I think that you're pretty well positioned. You're better than you were when you were on ESPN and you're asking people to clear 2 different paywalls in order to show up and watch your stuff on a Saturday night.
It's strategic. I mean, the strategy of having 2 pay-per-views up front, right? Like the kind of like, let's get all these, like 1 million subs, is nothing to shake a stick at, especially when I pointed this out before, but the UFC, when it went to ESPN Plus, was basically a package deal to launch ESPN Plus. It was like they were the flagship. They were the ones who were going to build it themselves. Whereas the UFC was going into this one, and the shtick or the novelty of it was that, hey, you don't have to do pay-per-view. So to kind of front load it with like a couple of events where you're like, normally you'd pay and you don't have to, you're getting these for free. It seems to be paying off in that number, right? Like 1 million subs, and we'll see what it does this weekend. It's not going to be 1 million subs, but you take them combined in the month and see kind of what you got in subs, and it's off to a good start, man. It certainly doesn't look like it's hurt at all.
Well, and especially when you look at that number where they say the average viewership number for the main card was around 5 million, maybe a little under 5 million. And you contrast it with what's the highest selling UFC pay-per-view of all time, as far as we know. And it's Khabib versus Conor. So a different time period, basically, and a different time period, especially for Conor McGregor's stardom. And you got 2.4 million buys. And if you're doubling the number of people are watching, I mean, and sure, granted, you're saying when pay-per-view, there are more likely to be people gathering together to defray the cost of it and everything. You maybe don't have that quite as much with Paramount Plus. But if you're increasing the number of people watching, that's a good thing.
It's like I was thinking back to when UFC did that initial Fox show where they did the special to kind of kick it off, and it was November, I think, of 2011, whatever that day was. But it was like 5.8 million viewers, and it peaked at 8 something, like 8.8. And us just thinking, oh my God, like how astronomical that number seemed to us.
And then they never did it again.
I know.
Well, and that was because they put on the heavyweight title fight, which was smart.
It's true, man. 100%. Yeah.
They said heavyweight title fight, free on Fox. Come get it. And that was really, and then they got those huge numbers for a 60-second fight. They would have gone way higher if the fight would have lasted a little longer. And instead of learning from that lesson, like, hey, you put a heavyweight title fight on TV, you kind of bring us back to the era where you could watch Rocky Marciano on network TV, brought to you by Barbasol or whatever, like the way my great-grandfather did. And then
Barbasol,
instead of learning that lesson and being like, let's do that again, by the end of the Fox deal, the cards on Fox, the UFC on Fox cards, it was just be like middleweight contender number 4 versus middleweight contender number 7, and then wonder why the ratings aren't that good.
Plus Paige Van Zandt.
Always Paige Van Zandt.
Michelle Watterson.
Sage Northcutt and Paige Van Zandt every time we could get them in.
Well, talk about a segue. Sage Northcutt, you just mentioned. We had, one man who went and pursued options in Asia. We have another North American man by the name of Patchy Mix announced for RIZIN during the week. And I mean, the lads talked about it yesterday on Boys in the Back and did a great job speaking about it. But it's shocking. I think it's a good move for him. But I mean, we're kind of sifting through everything if we don't talk about everything we expected of this guy. Chuck, I think we both agreed at the time before that first fight that he was the best signing made from Bellator to the UFC. 0-2, and he's out the door, already signed to a new promotion. Are you surprised to hear this? Like, are you surprised he didn't get a third shot?
Not necessarily at that part of it, because his fights kind of sucked, man. I mean, like that first one. Who was he fighting? I'm sorry. Like his first one was against. It was a tough.
Bautista.
Yes, Bautista. And I remember we were like, okay, this will be a tough one for him out of the gate, but this is something he should handle, and this will be great for him to kind of just automatically catapult himself into that top space. And instead, it looked like he just had no rhythm. It almost looked disinterested, but it was like he couldn't pull the trigger. He wasn't trying for take. It was just weird, wasn't it? It was like it was like a fight spent impending. Like there was nothing happening, and then his follow up was even worse. So for him to actually not be fighting a third time doesn't surprise me. But going back to the original premise, I mean, I was pretty convinced that he was the guy. He was the best kind of unsung guy coming over, from Bellator, and it was going to be one of those situations where he would actually be a guy who would contend and maybe win a belt at some point. I was that high on him, and having talked to him, he was that high on himself. Like he was like, "Oh yeah, this is what we're doing, baby," And instead, it was just it's got to be one of the most anticlimactic crossovers that we've ever had.
Do you agree with that, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you come in to the UFC with high expectations. Like when we have those high expectations for you, it doesn't happen that often anymore. Like this used to happen more where you'd see guys where we had more competitors out there to the UFC where their fighters would get a little bit of a name, come in as a free agent, and have to hit the ground running. Because once the UFC pays more than just the regular entry-level contract in order to bring you over, they're not gonna give you any easy fights. They're gonna give you some tough fights. You're gonna have to prove yourself right away. And we've seen, I mean, the example of Michael Chandler shows us that you don't necessarily have to come in and win them all. There are other ways to stick around and stay relevant if we care enough about you, if you are enough of a person that like stays in the minds of MMA fans one way or another. But if you don't, and if they look at the quality of your fights and they go, we don't see anything here that we really want to keep or that we can really sell to anybody that's worth our money, then yeah, it's really a tough cutthroat way of dealing with it because you come in there, we give you 2 shots at it. The first one I always got to think is not quite a wash, but your first fight in the UFC often does not tell us everything we need to know about you.
Eddie
a lot
Alvarez,
of guys,
Donald Cerrone,
a lot of guys will get those even experienced fighters will come in there, get the octagon jitters that we used to call it, and we won't see the best of them. And it doesn't mean they're not going to go on to have a good career. They'll pull it together. And they give you one of those, and then they give you one more to find out if the first one was a fluke. And then they say, all right, that's it. We're hitting the eject button on this one. It's tough, but that is also the situation you deal with when you come in already as a guy, or we expect you to be a guy.
Who would you even compare him to? Like, I was thinking about this, like a guy like that who he was a little bit unsung even with Bellator, right? Like I didn't feel like he got the shine. I remember talking to him when he's coming in, and he's like, yeah, I think the UFC actually do a good job of promoting me, and like my name will be more out there than it is. But I was thinking about this, and I was like, I think a guy like Will Brooks. Do you remember like he was?
Oh yeah.
So Will Brooks was like he was on a crazy streak, something like 8 or 9, 10 fights where he'd won in Bellator, including Chandler twice. Yeah. Like he'd beat Chandler, so it felt like he was coming over and going like, okay, this guy, he'll do work in the UFC. I think he went 1-3, and it was like just kind of flushed out.
Shout, though.
Just a weird
good comparison.
It was like 1-3.
He also did not make any friends at any of the promotions. All of them were glad to see him go and didn't ever want to see him come back. And it was the kind of thing where I was hearing about that from people at both UFC and Bellator, and I was just kind of like, "What did he do, man?" And I never got a great answer about it. But
put that on the feature list, Ben. I want to read that article, please.
When there's enough of a consensus where everybody is like, "Man, good riddance, go on," I go, "Shit, all right, he must have done something."
Any chance of him coming back, lads?
Patchy mix?
Yeah.
He's
honestly,
still young. He's still young.
When I heard that you signed with RIZIN, I was like, that actually might be a pretty great place for you.
Yeah.
Like, I think if anybody, I mean, who knows what the future for RIZIN is, but I was just like, yeah, you could go over there and you could do some business over there. Like I could see that maybe that being a pretty good home, at least for like the next couple of years.
Remember Sokoju when he came to the UFC?
Yeah.
That beat Ricardo Arona. They're like, oh man, then he beats Lil Nog, and you're like, oh shit, this guy's gonna be. He's like huge Team Quest guy. Just doesn't pan out for some of these guys, man.
Yeah, happened to a few guys when they came off from Pride. It was kind of like their best days were spent over there. The Saitama Superdome.
A lot of them. Yeah.
Big fight.
I think the drug testing might have had something to do. I don't know. It's just a theory.
How dare you?
Crazy.
How dare you impugn the Pride drug testing system, which is if you ask about it,
I'll give you your suitcase of money under the table when we're done here.
And only if you ask about it will we send a guy over to your hotel room to hand you a Dixie cup and be like, here, if this will make you feel better, pee in that.
Oh my
Oh my
god.
God.
We're just gonna throw it away, but here.
There's a big boxing match in MSG this weekend. A massive card, honestly. But the main event is obviously taking most of the headlines. Teofimo Lopez versus Shakur Stevenson for the Super Lightweight Championship of the World. A lot of testy things going down in this press conference too. It's a massive fight. They're talking about Stevenson like he is the guy for this generation. Lopez, always aggressive. Well, not always. He's had a couple of duds, to be fair to him, when everyone was like, he's about to show up. He can show up and look like the best in the world. He can shock the world.
Who's his equivalent in MMA? Like, it's like, because I feel like we've had this guy where you're like, dude, if he's on, if his head's right, he's going to do work and he could win this fight, and shock everybody. Like, because he's a big dog in this, considering his record and who he's fought. But yet, if his head's not right, you see him kind of
erratic,
struggling.
right? Like, he's been quite erratic in the build up to it. Like, he's been a bit outlandish on social media. I don't know what to make of him. I just always remember him showing up against Lomachenko and everyone being like, it's too soon for this kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost like a Mayweather v Canelo situation where they're like, he's only fighting him now because, he wants to deal with this and he won't have to deal with him. And then he got that win. And then he goes and he loses to Kambosos.
Right.
And then he's kind of edged through a lot of fights where you thought he was going to put the foot down. Very interesting against
Josh Taylor. Like the southpaws, like the guys who are like, some people don't want to match up with southpaws. He seems to do a good job with that. The world class southpaw. So maybe he sees something in this matchup. But he's got his father, like, who's been with him the whole way. This sometimes can lead to a very complicated emotional. We've seen this in boxing so long, and in some instances with MMA, and that can be a little weird. And also, man, I was at his fight. I was at that Times Square event against Barboza. Yeah, I was at that, and it was obviously very strange. It was not like a true boxing event. It was like we were watching an exhibition of some kind. But he was on that, and I have to say, New York loves him, man. Like, he was the one guy that had like people all around who, just in that small area that would not shut up. I mean, it was just it was like being at an old school where everybody's shouting instructions. Got to dodge him. You got to, use your left, use your, that sort of thing. There was like 5 or 6 people behind me just yelling the whole time like this. And there was just love for him all around there. So that may play into it as an emotional fighter. That may actually come into, I know that, Stevenson is from Newark, and he wanted it in Madison Square Garden to kind of avoid having it at Barclays or something like that, like where it would be too far one-sided. But I think that crowd's going to be on his side.
Absolutely.
I wanted to point out something about Elliot Worsel's article on it, which Brilliant. I really enjoyed. Because for one thing, he points out how, at one point, Shakur Stevenson telling him, like, I figured you out, and Teofimo Lopez being like, listen, nobody figures me out because sometimes I suck, and like, sometimes I look like I don't want to be there, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. So he knows that about himself, and he's turning it into a positive. The fact that, like, you can't know what you expect. What to expect from me, because even I don't know what to expect from me. Amazing. But I love that. I love this paragraph. I'll jiggle your balls, he, meaning Lopez, said to Stevenson that day, disappointing anyone who expected better from him. He then repeated the comment when Stevenson requested clarification.
I'll jiggle your balls.
Before pulling his middle finger from the inside of his jacket and flashing it at Stevenson. Yes, like a child.
Oh man,
he's so good, man. Get that article into you, lads. If you're trying to get the juices flowing for that card, and it is a great card. Keyshawn Davis on the card, Shushu Carrington's on the card. It's a really good. Big Baby Miller is back. A lot to be excited about. Adam A's fight has been pulled. He is ill. He will not be fighting Austin Williams. That came out just before the great On-Air Jordan showed me that. But brilliant stuff from Wursel. Like, I mean, it always is from Elliot. And
he's always got a unique angle for these fights. I gotta dig it,
Yeah.
I love telling somebody you'll jiggle their balls, because it's like, of course, the thing that they're gonna say after that, they're even whatever tough guy thing they think they have lined up, they're gonna be like, I'm sorry, what? what are you planning?
That's like that Key and Peele thing when the dudes are talking their shit.
It's gonna completely throw you off. Nothing you can say to that.
Yeah, it's a classic. Make sure you read it. But lads, that isn't all. because Ben, I know you've been waiting, and I'm so sorry that we kept it so late in the show, but it is in fact the Royal Rumble, and from your favorite place, Ben, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
You must be. I mean, this is a
Energy's
home
gonna
run,
be-
baby. You must be absolutely buzzing.
You know, listen. You don't have the Hulkster and the Ultimate Warrior over here
That's
on my wall. If I don't know a thing or two about professional wrestling, taking the Royal Rumble over to the actual Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is an interesting look, and I know a lot of wrestling fans aren't that crazy about it. I love the Royal Rumble. I've all like just conceptually, I think the Royal Rumble is such a fun thing. It's one of the few ones that I can get my kids kind of into. They don't give a damn about pro wrestling or any professional sports at all. But I told them this week where I was just saying something about like, hey, you know what Saturday is? It's the Royal Rumble. And they were like, oh, is that the one where your feet can't touch the floor? And I was like, yes, kind of.
Right, it is.
You've got the
It's like
basic
the molten lava
idea.
game, whatever. Don't touch the floor.
Yeah, yeah. And see, it's like that's something that kids can understand. They're
Yeah.
like, all right, feet don't touch the floor. I got it. And then they also, though, like, I think there's just so much fun stuff you can do with the order in which people appear. And that is always a fun part of the Royal Rumble. And like, even just talking with them about it, and they were just, you could see them working their way through the thought process where they're like, oh man, it'd be a really bad deal to have to be the first person in there. And I was like, yes, exactly. And they're like, it'd be great if you were the last person. And I was like,
See the advantages.
you're getting it. And then it was just like we had moved on to talking about other topics, and then one of them was like, what if two people were friends and they both ended up as like the two people? And I
Exactly.
was just like, welcome to the world of professional wrestling. These and other questions will be explored over and
Oh,
over
man.
again over the
Yeah.
series of generations.
So true.
Is Blaze still into it? Will you be watching, Chuck?
Oh my God, he does. I mean, he gets in and out of it, you know. But at
Yeah.
the same time, he never misses this. Like I watch this every single year. I was doing a little preview, and I'm like, at its best, it's almost like a Hieronymus Bosch painting, like where like, there's so
Yes.
much going
Yeah.
on, you can't even take it. Like at its best, so there's like 18 dudes in there, and it's funny if you fixate on one guy, and you'll see him just sitting in the corner dead for like a full minute. It doesn't move, like he's just in the corner, and I'm like, what is it? Like, so what happens suddenly when they get up? They recharge and they get up and they go back at it again. It's just it's ridiculous, man. And to this day, the little kid in you wakes up every time the music comes on for the who is it?
Yeah.
Who is it? Like I
Yeah.
won't even know half of them at this point, but like you always want to know who is it? Who's coming in there this time? You know.
Tell you
It's
one
fun,
fella
man.
you're gonna know is the big guy,
Yeah.
Brock
I know.
Lesnar.
You'll be there.
I don't know if you've seen, yeah, there we go. I don't know if you've seen recent photos of the man. Still looks pretty good getting off the bus.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it
Good
does.
shape?
Look at
He's
that.
in good shape?
Still looks like he knows where they keep the weights. There have been moments just when you see him move around sometimes where you go, oh, wait a minute, is age starting to gradually turn Brock Lesnar into more of something closer to a mortal man? But also you see him pop the top off and you're
Oh my
like,
God.
you know, remember when he failed that drug test and against Mark Hunt and he blamed the foot cream? He thought
Yeah.
maybe it was contaminated foot
Yeah.
cream.
It was foot cream. from
Fellas,
what
I don't want to talk out of school here, but I'm starting to think maybe it
Whoa.
was contaminated foot cream.
Oh, come on, man.
The foot cream had contamination in it.
It was horse
Be that
meat in
as
the
I mean, it
way.
was pretty clear, wasn't it? Like, oh man.
Where can we get that cream, though? Seriously.
I
Check
got a
out
guy,
Brad
PT.
Gilmore's.
Hit me in the chat afterward.
Lovely. You got the link. Check out Brad Gilmore's article. If you are like me, not a big WWE guy, he lays it all out there for you. What to expect from
Dude.
the night. What are the big talking points from the world? It's good.
What do you-
Just give yourself a read. It's on Netflix.
What do you think it costs Brock Lesnar to, like? This is a guy. If you ever talk, he's just the grumpiest, meanest. Like he's like it's just not a pleasant thing. And like for them to get him to go to Saudi Arabia to go compete in this thing, I mean, it's just they got to be opening up the pocketbook pretty big here. I mean, he's just not going to do that. This is a guy who moved first of all to like remote Minnesota, like up by Lake Ida, where I visited him one time, a long time, over the border finally, so he could get even more obscure from people. He doesn't. This is not something he would do unless you're really coming correct.
I believe you could maybe sell this to him on the basis of Brock Lesnar not knowing exactly how far away Saudi Arabia is.
It's just past Canada.
That might be your best hope. And he'll be like, how long is the flight? And you're like, not that long. Not that long.
We'll get you straight through.
Yeah,
You know?
You're gonna be comfortable. You're gonna be comfortable on that plane.
it's a direct flight, and
Yeah.
there's movies. You know,
Not that long.
The beast incarnate is back. My guy's Obafemi. I just found out who he is like last week, and I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
he is as big as
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar.
as a
or even
specimen.
bigger.
That
Yeah,
man's a
he's
physical specimen.
He's my guy. We've drawn our
What about
numbers,
this
of course.
Heyman faction, though? I mean, they're going to have to go against each other. This is, again, there's going to be some betrayals.
Once I read some of our Royal Rumble coverage, and I was like, oh, you're telling me there's a chance I might turn on the TV Saturday afternoon and see the ageless Chris Jericho show
right.
back up, who I remember watching when I was in high school.
I
And I'm
remember
like,
him debuting. Yeah, crazy. The Millennium thing. Fuck.
Jesus.
We are old, bro. Chuck, we
Yeah.
need to talk about your hat because we talked about your art
About it.
throughout the week. And it is a fantastic piece that you wrote from your attendance at Zuffa Boxing 1.
Yeah.
You're obviously captivated by the product. Zuffa Boxing
Yes.
2 this weekend. Are you going to be able to fit it into your long list of things you need to watch?
This is being worn unironically. Okay. No, wait. I don't know what ironical means, I guess. But anyways, I'm just wearing this hat. It was
That's great.
what was your question? I mean, it felt I'm positive as the only guy in Las Vegas who showed up for Zuffa Boxing and didn't stick around for UFC 324. I was the only guy who went there specifically for that.
That's what we're talking about. Like, imagine anyone saying, Chuck, all right, you going to the fights?
See you at
Yes.
the fights tomorrow. Not me.
Not those fights. The real fights at the Apex.
gotta catch a flight out Saturday morning.
I know.
Let
At
me
least
know
I
how it
tried
turns
to.
out.
Yeah. But it sounds like no matter which way I'd went about it, if I had just watched the telecast and caught, Max Kellerman and all of that stuff, I would have been equally disenchanted. But being there was not a fun thing, boys. It was not fun to sit through that. Every fight.
What did the rest of the crowd did you get the sense that other people were like, yes, this is what I expected, this is what I came here for, or were they also just sort of like, this is a little low
if
octane?
you're at like if you were just in an intimate show in Missoula, right? Like you went to an intimate show, there's let's say 400 people there. They're probably going to be fans.
Mhm.
Like that are going to be like, hey, drink some beer and let's just have fun, man. We're here. This isn't the kind of crowd that the Apex draws. They're like a lot of influencers, and Nate Diaz was there, and so was like Tiki Goshen. Remember that guy? Like he's hanging out. It's like it's a lot of people who are associated with fight game or influencers, or people who are a little more well heeled than you would get. So it's like there's already this kind of lack of passion from just that fan base. Now I'm not saying that'll always be their fan base, but that's who was there for this particular one, and. It was like the first fight on the main card drew a little bit of like an energy. Like there was but it was a pretty good fight. The kid from Philadelphia, I forget his name now. Like he was standing there. He was giving him a show. He ended up winning. The next fight lost everybody. In fact, everybody just kind of like went and we're at the concessions and we're walking around. There was
Buying
almost
hats.
no interest.
Were they buying merch?
Buying hats. That's
for
when I was in
instance,
the
Chuck?
hat line. Yeah, but I don't know my shirt that says I was there. Pizza used in the mail, and
I was there.
and then the main event came on. And I don't know how to describe it because it was like a main event you're always leading towards, especially in boxing. It's all geared toward that main event.
Yeah.
You could hear a pin drop from like rounds 2 to 8. It was just, it had died so badly in that room. Like it was just, I don't know, man. I had just never seen a main event that had that lack of energy. So it was a drowsy affair, man. I don't know what else to say. It's almost like you walk out of there and a couple people were joking like, wow, has your heart stopped racing after that thing? Being sarcastic because it was just like, it was that bad in that sense.
Do you know what's crazy? You kind of called this. Like I was like, wow, the biggest winner out of this is going to be Callum Walsh. And you said, when I said that, well, either the biggest winner or loser. And I feel like that's kind of what's happened.
I felt bad for those guys, man.
Yeah.
They were competing in a unnatural environment, man. It was like a sparring session that you were peeking in on. It was that quiet.
I knew guys from Ireland who are boxing fans that stayed up for that. Like they were texting me before the main event and they texted me the next morning saying, I just went to bed halfway through it.
So
like
bad.
You're watching the boxing match you have stayed up for and you're just like,
you're already that committed.
I am going
God,
to bed.
man.
No, I stayed up for the whole thing because I'm a hardcore. But it's
At
Who do
this
you guys
point,
think about this weekend's
your
fight card
weekend
there, though?
sleep rhythms are so thrown off, Petesy. Your body wouldn't know what to do if you went to bed at a reasonable hour on a Saturday or Friday.
I just come out with the most beautiful skin. Speaking of, actually, I don't know if you guys saw, but I had a bit of a school reunion there yesterday. Have we seen the picture of 12-year-old Petesy Carroll here? Have a
Your
look
hair was
there.
much darker then.
I have a receding hairline and I'm 12. Have a look. Do we have oh, there it is.
Look at that.
Terrifying what Blanchardstown can do to a child. I was talking about this haircut with someone earlier, and I was like, do you know what that is? That's my mom just getting me a buzz cut every 3 months, and whatever happens beyond that is up to Brill Cream and me.
I like how in the screenshot there we captured my comment on it that I sent to you after
what was the
DM
comment? I
on
couldn't
Instagram.
read it.
It was a note about pizza. You could see the zipper of the tracksuit in this.
That's what I told him.
Yeah,
told
we
him
have
something very similar.
a lot of people were like, I think you robbed me when you were 12.
I mean, that looks like a
It's
juvenile
just like-
hall mugshot right there.
Yeah.
Where you're just like,
Yeah.
this is an at-risk youth.
Do you know what
That's what I'm
the fucked up
looking
thing is? There's Chuck Stone, Simon's yours. The most fucked up thing about this is, like, because everyone got these letters that we wrote to ourselves and these pictures. And I was like, what's the story with the picture? Like, what was that? And they were like, we walked up to you as a 12-year-old and said, we're taking a picture of you to show your 38-year-old self in 25 years. And that's the face I made. Like,
Wow.
what the I am hot, man. I want to start a fight with my
Skeptical.
older self.
It's
Yeah,
very.
you're like, I won't be alive then, so I'm gonna.
He definitely robbed your 3310, which is a Nokia phone from back in the day. And, you know, who knows? I'm not saying shit on here. I might incriminate myself. Just take my lunch money. Lads, I was just wondering, would you like to hear what I wrote to myself? As
Yes.
a 12-year-old?
Yes. See, I didn't know that that's what this was a part of. All right, let's hear.
No,
This
I
is
can-
fascinating
I
now.
can get through this quick.
Okay.
Very disappointing, by the way. This is terrible. There is no doubt about it. Hi, my name is Peter, and I'm in Miss O'Brien's 6th class. I'm in a family of 4 people. My dad, who is a Tottenham fan and is named Liam. My loving mother, whose name is Margie. And my brother Luke, who is the best brother alive. He supports Chelsea. These are my number 1 family ever. Yeah, I mean, your family. Good stuff, Peter.
Who's number 2?
I mean, I have 4 close friends. Daniel Sansevini. In brackets, I've wrote Italian, because that's what he is. A.K.A. Sanso. Eamon Kidd, a.k.a. Amo. They both of them are in the same year as me, and Sanso is in the same class as me. Stephen Murta, aka Steve and Quinner, are in secondary school. When I grow up, I want to be a lawyer and rich enough to buy Manchester United and Ferrari. Not a Ferrari, the team Ferrari.
Wow.
My 2 favorite sporting teams. Sorry, that was a comment on the other thing.
That
Ronaldo,
feels
Pele.
like like 12-year-old you did maybe not understand how global economics worked. You thought like lawyers make a lot of money and then they buy sports teams, right? That
If you
happens.
think that's bad, you're wait till you fucking see what happens next. Okay, Ronaldo, Pele, Maradona, and Muhammad Ali are my idols. They weren't. Now into the past is where.
Why
I go
are
with
you
this.
telling yourself stuff that you would know about yourself?
I don't think I knew what was happening. Here's
Why
the
are
next
you
part.
telling yourself who your friends and family are? That's the one thing that you should definitely know.
Don't dig too deep in. This is
Listen, Ben, the next part, if you think that's bad, this is where I've gone with the next part. Now, into the past. Over the last century, there were many tragic deaths, such as the assassination of JFK,
Wow.
Princess Diana, and Mother Teresa. They have made the first test tube baby for people who can't have babies. The main talk in Ireland now is the devolution, which is Northern Ireland having their own ministers and stuff. I think this could be a major step towards peace. In 1969, man first walked on the moon. It was watched on television worldwide. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins were the crew. Armstrong said, "One small step for man and a giant leap
fuck?
for mankind."
just in case that was no longer going to be information that was available later on.
You were like, this is some shit that
People will forget.
I need to know is about the moon landing. Also, I also love over the last century there were many tragic deaths. Like, oh really? Over the course of 100 years, some people died. All right.
I thought it was like, as I was standing there and reading this, I was like, did I imagine like people had forgot and I was going to open this up in Blanchardstown and just be like, lads, JFK was assassinated. And they're like, what? What the fuck? And I'm like, yeah, and Princess Diana is dead.
It just
Finally,
seems like you were trying to prove I got a handle on current events. I know. I'm paying attention.
trying to prove to himself all these years later.
final paragraph. A look to the future now. This is a look to the future.
Okay, this should be good.
And it doesn't deliver again. Everyone thinks the year 2000 is going to bring flying cars and stuff, but I think it will all be the same.
Wow.
I think smoking might be banned, and maybe we'll have computerized maids, but not too much. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope I do all the things I said. 2 things I said. I would buy Manchester United and Ferrari. Goodbye. I love you. That is how I signed off. Just telling myself. There he is.
There he is.
What a genius.
There's the author.
That kid loves you. Look into his eyes, Petesy. That kid right there. He loves
doesn't
you.
look like he loves me at all, man. He looks like he shanked someone seconds before.
He might
that was
be a little
taken.
disappointed in you. He might think, all right, that guy is a little bit of a letdown. From the high hopes I had.
Ferrari
Yet.
No, he owns
yet.
neither.
Yes,
Manchester
that's
United
important
or
to say.
Ferrari.
Yet, but he does look like he could do the helicopter in a breakdancing movie. He could just like start to.
Well, I'm glad I shared. I was so disappointed at like the writing. I was just like, and the rest of the lads were like, we couldn't even spell, dude. Like, this is pretty impressive. And I'm like, I'm very upset about this.
I just want to point out that if you are a long time viewer of the Craic, you have now seen Petesy read a letter from his 12-year-old self in addition to his dream diary.
Yes.
Live on this program. Just where else are you going to get content like this?
I don't know. Well, I mean, it's gonna look. We're gonna find something. They're gonna call me to open up something else I fucking wrote as a child. I'm sure soon. But yeah. Well, do we have any super chats, Jordan?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Potential UFC events.
Venues.
Oh, sorry. In Europe in 2026. Well, they just go to the UK and France now. So lock them in. I mean, what is
No
the
Dublin.
Accor Arena and the O2 Arena? They don't even fucking look elsewhere. That is it.
What about Croke Park?
Hopes for Spain seem like they have maybe been put on the back burner for now.
It is gone, isn't it? Like, that is fucking dead. Georgia is dead. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, mate. I would love them to explore the region, but they have previously. We were all only talking about it with some other European media guys 2 weeks ago. We're like, that was one of the best times to cover the sport. You're just going to a different European country every month. It was great, but
Stockholm,
they don't seem to be interested.
All over the
Hamburg.
place. Yeah, Hamburg.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So good. Prague.
Well,
all
at this
those.
point, you're just not going to roll up into Poland and beat what KSW is doing in either terms of live event
That's
production or the crowd enthusiasm. So,
No, yeah, you're right. Or Czech Republic and Octagon. Like, Ariel's very right in what he's saying about it becoming like the territories, the wrestling territories back in the day.
yeah.
Aries in France, WoW FC in Spain, as it is. Like, all these fucking promotions are doing really, really well there. It's like, it's kind of so open compared to the US, where PFL can't do shit there, but they're selling out events left, right, and center in Europe. Anything else there, Jordan? Hey fellas, advice for someone looking to get into MMA journalism. Also, Petesy, what do you think about Curtis Campbell v Danny Silva? I got Kurt by sub. Curtis Campbell, very, very good. Very, very good submissions. I would say that is a very good bet. In terms of getting into MMA media, I personally just started going to regional events in 2009. I don't know how the fuck I ended up here. So Chuck and Ben, take it away, please.
I would say instead, become a lawyer and buy Manchester United.
Yes.
I think that's a better plan.
Yes. I mean, it's a more realistic plan at this point too, Ben.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many seats at the table around here. Unless you're an influencer. Try to be an influencer.
MMA influencer, any amount of seats at the table.
Or
Now
comedian.
you're talking. You just go and you
Yeah.
just go, what the fuck? And they get you in. Credentials.
Yeah.
No problem. Anything else there, Jordan?
That person's like, I wasted my
that's-
money.
there it is.
Whoever sent in
There it
that
is.
was like, I wasted my money. They-
2 waste of money. But I mean, look, we love yous anyway. Thank you for everything. From 12-year-old Petesy Carroll, from Chuck Mindenhall, Ben Fowlkes, Oscar Losef, On Air Jordan. I don't know if the music's still playing, but I'm signing off anyway. It is Uncrowned Saturday, baby. Check us out tomorrow. We'll have the watch along. We will have the post-fight show. Get over to Uncrowned, read everything there because it will get you set up exactly where you need to be for a whole day of vegetation on your favorite sitting device. We love you all very much. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye. See you next week.